So I'm going to ask you a direct question. As you're looking at bringing AI into your organization, is your plan built on a foundation of trust? Or are you just, kind of hoping for the best? I mean, it sounds blunt, I know, but we have to be honest here because the stakes have literally never been higher. And that brings us to what I call the AI adoption paradox. Look, we're in a full blown AI gold rush. Everybody's scrambling to stake their claim, and they're terrified of being left in the dust. But let's get real. Rushing in without a map, without a strategy, that's not just risky, it's a recipe for absolute disaster. And that right there gets to the heart of it all. The challenge, you see, isn't really about implementing AI. The tech's there. The real challenge is implementing it responsibly. It's about having the vision and the principles to do it right. At Activate AI, we treat ethics not as a constraint, but as infrastructure. The Liberty Framework ensures operational integrity while unlocking full potential. So, how do we actually navigate all this chaos? Well, what we all need isn't some 1,000-page rule book. What we need is a compass, something that helps us find our bearings and make the right calls every single time as we explore this brand new territory. Or think of it like this. What leaders truly need right now is scaffolding. A solid, reliable framework that you can build on. A structure that makes sure whatever you create with AI is safe and strong and actually built to last. And the scaffolding, well, here it is. It's the Liberty Framework. This is your guide to getting AI adoption right. Each letter stands for a core principle, and together they create a solid structure that we've been talking about. All right, first things first. Let's talk about the foundation. The first three letters here, L, I, and B, they're all about one thing, putting people at the center of it all. Because before you even think about the tech, before you write a line of code, you have to get the human side of the equation right. Period. So it also leadership and literacy. And this is so important because responsible AI, it's not some IT project that you can just hand off and forget about. This has to come from the top. It has to be a core part of your leadership strategy. AI cannot be an orphan function. Specific leaders must own the implementation, and someone at the executive level needs to champion this. Acceptance needs to come from the top. And after we assign the ownership, we need to build confidence. Fear inhibits innovation. Training focuses on building staff confidence and competence. We're not creating anxiety, we're creating capability. Or at least that's what we want to do. AI literacy programs must extend beyond the employees to include volunteers and members. Everyone needs to understand what's happening and why. All right, next up we have I, and that's for inclusion and accessibility. This flows right from leadership because it's based in a really simple but powerful idea. If your AI isn't built for everyone, then it really isn't built for anyone. And what this means is that you have to be intentional. You've got to design for all of your people, not just some of them. Design for the margins. A robust system serves the entire ecosystem, not just the tech guys. And we specifically engineer workflows for rural populations and older demographics and multilingual users. Solutions must remain accessible to members with limited technology infrastructure. They have to have a way for everybody to use them. Your AI should be a bridge that connects them, not another wall that shuts them out. And that brings us to B, the final piece of our foundation, the bias awareness. Look, AI learns from data, and the data from our world, It's packed with all kinds of bias. So here's the deal: if you're not actively hunting for bias, then you're possibly letting it poison your systems without even knowing it. And that's an absolute non negotiable. Fighting bias takes discipline. Outputs must be tested aggressively before you deploy it, no shortcuts. And inconsistencies aren't just fixed, they're documented so that you can track drift and error patterns. We need to know when things go sideways and why. So it's a constant effort to be always on the lookout for bias. Guardrails have to be implemented, and strict technical and policy boundaries need to be put in place so that it prevents reputational risk. This is both technology and process. Okay, so we've laid out our human-centric foundation. It's solid. Now we can start building the actual process on top of it. That's where the next three letters come in: E, R, and T. About the how, the workflow for doing AI responsibly. So we kick things off with E, empowered human in the loop. Honestly, this might be one of the most misunderstood ideas in AI right now. This isn't just about having a person click approve and you're done. It's about designing systems that make your people smarter and faster and better at their jobs, not systems that try to replace them. And the difference you're going to see is night and day. Human judgment remains the final firewall, always. And there needs to be mandatory oversight. You need to require explicit human approval for all external communications and strategic decisions and any public-facing content. Remember, AI drafts, AI assists, humans decide. We do not automate accountability. Critical thinking stays with the human always. Next, we have R, for realistic operational design. You know, with all the hype around AI, it's so easy to dream big, maybe too big sometimes. But being responsible means being realistic. It means being pragmatic. Automate only what your current staff capacity can effectively manage and monitor. Don't create chaos. Start small, prove stability in a controlled environment before you scale up. And make sure it's sustainable. Over automation without maintenance capacity creates technical debt. You'll pay for it later, trust me. So only automate the things that your team has the bandwidth to manage. Otherwise, you're just creating new headaches, right? The key is to start small. Find one thing that you can improve, nail it, show some value, and then, only then, you build on that success. And the last workflow puzzle is T, transparency and trust. And listen, these two are completely connected. You simply can't have one without the other. You can't earn trust if you're not being transparent, especially with something as powerful and, let's face it, as mysterious as AI. We don't hide the machine. Explain clearly how and where AI is utilized. Disclosure builds confidence, and stakeholders have a right to know when they're interacting with an automated system. It's actually pretty simple. Just be open about it. Tell your team, tell your members, tell your customers. Tell them how and where AI is being used. The moment you pull back the curtain and demystify it, you'd be amazed at how quickly trust starts to build. So there we have it. We've got our foundation, we've got our workflow. How do we know we're getting it right? Well, that brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle, proving the impact. And that's where the why comes in. You need to be able to yield measurable results. Because look, a responsible AI framework isn't just about checking some ethical boxes to feel good. It's about the actual work. It has to deliver real, tangible results. And they have to be results that make your organization better. So what does that look like? We need quantifiable impact. Adoption is judged by data, not by hype. Things like customer complaints going down by 30%, or response time being cut by 4 hours, or staff administrators, their workload being decreased, and member satisfaction scores increasing, or employee retention numbers improving. Data and percentages that you can measure. If the yield isn't measurable, then the implementation needs to be reassessed, period. And this really brings it home to the core message of this whole framework. Getting AI right isn't a tech problem for your IT department to figure out. It's first and foremost a leadership challenge. It always has been, and it always will be. Here's how it all works together. Transparency validates the trust. Human oversight mitigates the bias. And realistic design ensures a measurable yield. The result is a resilient ecosystem where innovation thrives within the safety of ethical boundaries. This isn't just theory. This is a practical, battle-tested system that creates organizational resilience. Now let me show you how exactly to implement this. Phase 1 is the foundation. You assign your leadership, train your staff, map accessibility needs. Phase 2 is the construction. You deploy pilot programs with human-in-the-loop workflows and bias testing. You test in controlled environments, and you document everything. Phase 3, that's where you launch with full transparency. You're going to begin your rigorous testing and yield tracking, and you're going to continuously measure and improve. This isn't a sprint. It's a deliberate, phased rollout that builds trust at every stage. AI maturity is not defined by how fast you move, but how well you steer. The Liberty Framework transitions the organization from experimental to operational by centering the human element through inclusion, oversight, and transparency. We future-proof the organization against regulatory shifts and public sentiment changes. This is about building something that lasts. So before I wrap this up, here's your executive checklist. These are the 7 questions every leader needs to answer. Is ownership clearly assigned and the staff trained? Have you designed for everyone? Are guardrails and testing protocols in place? Is human-in-the-loop approval mandatory for public content? Does automation match current staff capacity? And is AI clearly disclosed? And finally, are you tracking workload and satisfaction metrics? If you can't check all 7 boxes, you're not ready to scale. But that's okay. Now you know exactly what needs to be fixed. Choices you're making right now about AI will define the future of your organization. So you have to ask yourself, what is your AI legacy going to be? One built on chance, or one built on trust, responsibility, and liberty? The future is structured. Use the Liberty Framework to transform AI from a risk into a cornerstone of your organization's success. The choice is entirely up to you. If you'd like to learn more about the Liberty Framework or how to use AI in your business, come over and join us in our free school community. Links are below. Go ahead and click on that. And if you found value in this today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join us again for the next one.